So if you really feel like your marriage is struggling and you're potentially facing a divorce, keep in mind, divorce season begins the first right after New Year's. Once we get past the holidays, often women who are thinking of divorce are waiting till after all the family holidays to initiate. But let's say that's not the case, but you're not sure you want to stay in the marriage. This video, I'm talking about things men do that absolutely destroy them in the divorce process financially. I've talked to men, they're working 2 jobs. She's a stay-at-home mom. And if things aren't going well, or they just work a ton of overtime because she spends, or they've got a very high monthly expense, understand alimony. 1, is it applicable in your divorce? I've known 2 or 3 women who were all set on divorce and suddenly wanted to try one more time, which would have pushed them past the magic, in their case, 10-year clock. And they'd have been eligible for alimony. Okay? And so be aware. You need to understand, if you're done with the marriage and you work a ton of overtime, and you divorce, your alimony and your child support are going to be based on that. Which means you're now trapped in working a ton of overtime when your expenses, in theory, actually go down. I have a lot of men who think they're going to be ruined financially. They get divorced, and a year later they're like, oh my God, Amazon doesn't show up every day at the house. Even after child support, I've got more money than I ever had before. So something to keep in mind. So 1, know if alimony applies, okay, or if that date is coming up. Because in some places it's when you file. But do not let yourself try again for the 3rd time because she wants to try one more time and she's pushing against divorce. If you're the major income earner and she's not. 2, if you're the major income earner, and you're working a ton of overtime, what if you cut back on that in 2025? I know 2 men. 1, after they separated, he stopped working all the overtime. She has been dragging her feet on the divorce she wanted. She hasn't filed, but finally filed for divorce, is doing nothing. Well, he's managed to get this year in the books with taking almost no overtime. Okay, the 1 individual. Now, there is no alimony. Before, there would have been. Okay, so it equalized their pay close enough where alimony doesn't come into play. Same thing applies with child support. If you were making $120 a year with overtime and she makes 70 and you stop working the overtime through 2025 and you only make 80 a year base, there's a $10,000 difference. 50-50 joint shared custody, the amount of child support is negligible. And you can go back to working overtime every other week when you don't have the kids. Or depending on your arrangement and sitting wise. Now, they can always take you back for a readjustment, but I would tell you, if it's not an absolutely miserable, abusive relationship, you need to be strategic if you're planning and thinking about a divorce. You need to look at what benefits you. You could be fed up. You're finally done. But divorcing now and having a year with 50% of your base salary of overtime of 50% of your base, or waiting a year, and I hate to say that, while you work on yourself and level up, a couple of things happen. There's a potential you turn things around in the marriage, but let's say you're doing it to get ready for divorce. You've leveled up, you've worked on yourself for a year, you've lowered the amount of overtime. Worst case, you took on a little more debt, which is a marital debt. So some things to think about. Do not trap yourself financially in a divorce to where you have to work ridiculous overtime because you're now paying alimony, or you're paying ridiculous child support because you were working overtime, doing everything for the family as dad and provider and doing nothing for yourself. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. If you're in this situation and you want to talk, reach out. My contact information is down below. But I see this all the time. I see men do the right thing and save themselves. I also see men absolutely crucify themselves for a while, financially. But I'm telling you, if you do things right, you'd be shocked at how often a man comes out after a divorce and he realizes, I'm not ruined financially. Yeah, it cost me, but now I don't have all the extra expenses that might not have been necessary. All right, guys, have a great day.